Leah Klett with the Christian Post, and my guest today is New York Times bestselling author Annie F. Downs, and she is on a mission to encourage us all to have fun again in her new devotional, Chase the Fun: 100 Days to Discover Fun Right Where You Are. Annie, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
Today we're talking about Chase the Fun,
Yes.
which I love.
Same.
Just such a fun book. But I want to hear about why you wrote this devotional kind of surrounding this topic that I don't know, sometimes as Christians we're a little afraid of, right? So
Yeah.
like, I don't know, is fun really biblical?
Yeah.
That's why you wrote this book.
Well, I mean, right now in culture, New York Times just released an article about the power of fun. And one of the most viral TED Talks that's being sent around is about the purpose of fun. It is what people are talking about in our culture because we miss it and we need it and we wish we had it. And so what ended up happening is when I wrote That Sounds Fun a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
I've done this one other time and it's totally my fault, but I wrote Looking for Lovely. Nope, I'm sorry. I wrote Let's All Be Brave. And then everybody was like, well, thank you for writing that. But like, how? How do we do that? And we've seen your why and we've seen your story, but how do we do it? And I was like, good point. So I wrote 100 Days to Brave. And the same thing happened with That Sounds Fun. I wrote That Sounds Fun. I told everybody about why fun matters and what it can do in your life and what it's done in my life. And then after when we started seeing people out on That Sounds Fun tour events or at other conferences or events or the emails or on Instagram, they'd be like, okay, but how do I do it? And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, right. I need to tell you how. Because everybody wants to have fun. It's the thing that they miss. And in the faith world, fun has gotten a little usurped by thinking that the only way to have fun is debauchery, right? That if someone's having fun, they're doing something bad. And that is not true. And in fact, I think fun is a really spiritually connecting piece of life of all of us put everything on our calendar that makes us healthy. And I think fun is actually one of those really important um, parts of our lives that we need to be the healthiest version of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do we prioritize fun? How do we do this? What are just some practical tips we can implement every day?
Yeah, the easiest thing is to put it on your calendar, just like you do with dinners with friends, and just like you do with your alarm clock, just like you do with the workout class you don't miss. Whatever it is that's most important to you. See, we have two things, right? We have to do lists and we have our calendar. And our to do list, my to do list right now includes cleaning out the guest room closet. That is not something I have to do today, and it will not get done anytime soon, but it's on my list because I want to do it at some point. And a lot of us put fun on our to do list, which means once all the other important things are done, I may have time for this. But when our workout class is on a calendar, we don't miss it. And we need to move fun to our calendar. So that's one of the simplest things is literally take 30 minutes on your Saturday and say fun on your calendar. And then what's going to happen is whoever you share your calendar with, they're going to say, what are we doing on Saturday? What sounds fun to you? And then everyone starts talking about it and you start hearing these really interesting answers. And instead of thinking that fun has to be expensive and a week long and flying across the country, you realize like, oh man, that was really fun on Saturday when we all went and tried 3 different kinds of guacamole from 3 different Mexican restaurants. Or we went and we all went to Sonic and got a drink and sat outside and played a game of checkers, right? Like it is so simple. Working in your garden, cross stitching is one of my favorite hobbies. I did it last night while I was watching TV. Um, Playing outside, any kind of sports, all of that is hobbies we can pursue. And so the first thing is just put it on your calendar, and that's the way to do it. And then start having conversations about it. That really is the most practical way to get fun back in your life is start talking about it.
Mhm.
Whether you have to confess to people, man, I do not know how to have fun anymore, or I don't know how to have fun right now when I'm in the middle of this stress or this grief or this pain. I tore my meniscus disc in my knee. And so for the last 3 weeks, my fun has been greatly altered,
Mhm.
right? Because I can't walk anywhere. I can't go on walks with friends. We're even having to like change where we're eating dinner on Saturday night because the walk is too far for me from between dinner and the concert we're going to. And so I've had to adjust, but it's in conversations that happens. So put it on your calendar, and having conversations about what sounds fun to you really are what brings it back into your life.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk a little bit more about why fun is so essential to our spiritual health, our emotional health, our
Yes.
relational health.
Yeah. So we hear that a lot. I hear from people, fun doesn't sound important. And
Yeah.
I don't have enough time to do with my life things that aren't important. My calendar's already full. The kids are busy. I don't have any extra space. I'm going through a really hard thing. If this isn't essential, I can't do it. And I would say to you, fun is essential because, for starters, it requires a level of vulnerability that we need to practice. It's one of the reasons you don't go on a lot of first dates to amusement parks, because you're not like sitting on a roller coaster with a guy you just met,
Mhm.
because you scream and you yell and you laugh and all these things are actually really vulnerable. Fun requires a level of vulnerability, whether it's jumping in a swimming pool or trying a new recipe or trying a new restaurant. It all just requires a level of vulnerability. We really need that. Fun also like really breeds connection. Your favorite concerts, who was sitting with you. And like when I think about, I saw Mumford and Sons in Madison Square Garden in New York, and I loved it. But what I loved is Mary Kate and Jenna Claire and Laura were with me. And I
Mhm.
just won't ever forget that, because there was a connection and we talk about it. And that's where I fell in love with Maggie Rogers music. And, so I remember it. But what I remember about the fun was the connection that
Yeah.
we had. And so that really matters. And honestly, I think Jesus was really fun. I think we see that in shows like The Chosen, right? That have modeled some ways that Jesus was really fun. But in scripture alone, we hear about him at the wedding in Cana, which of course, water to wine, which is great. But my favorite part of the story is it says that Mary was invited to the wedding, and so was Jesus and all of his friends, which
Mhm.
says to me that no one's inviting a bunch of 20-year-old guys that aren't fun to their wedding.
Yeah.
He and his friends were fun, and kids love Jesus. They wanted to be around him all the time. Kids don't, this, kids don't love people who aren't fun.
Mhm.
And so there was something about Jesus that was really fun. And so when we model that in our lives by choosing fun for ourselves, by chasing it in our own lives, by inviting other people into it, we're actually modeling an attribute of Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Now, share some of the stories that you've heard from people who have implemented this in their life after reading your book.
Yeah, so we have a big group of about 3,500 people going through the book together right now, which is just insane. And so we're getting to talk to them every day. We're called the Chase the Funners, which is terrible grammar. But listening to them, even on the day where it was like, what if I can't afford fun? Because that is a big barrier. Time and money are the two biggest barriers to fun for people. And so listening to people process, like, oh, I'd never thought about fill in the blank. And it is always, I'll tell you the other story that kind of moves me is maybe day 4, early in the book, we talk about, when did you quit having fun?
Yeah.
And the conversations around people going like, I didn't realize that this memory from 3rd grade still affects me like this.
Mm.
Or I had a husband and wife come up to me just last week, and she said, I want to tell you when I quit having fun. And I said, okay. And she said, when I married him. And I was kind of like, what? What? And they both kind of laughed a little bit. And she said, it's true. My responsibilities changed,
Mm.
and I didn't make space for fun anymore. And I have blamed him. And she was like, but as I've read Chase the Fun, I've realized that this was my choice, and I'm going to make a different choice. And we've already talked about it. And we've put things on our calendar and da, da, da. But I mean, really, the process that happens in that 100 days of Chase the Fun not only helps you find a hobby, though we hope it does, and not only helps you realize like how important it is to, like, if you loved an instrument in middle school, you can pick it back up again. But these moments of like deep heart change that say like, oh yeah, fun is a spiritual thing. And I'm having this moment with God and the people in my life that are opening my eyes to a wound, a place of pain, a memory, something that stopped them from the life they wanted to have, that they're inviting back in.
Yeah. Talk about how we can experience fun with God, right? How this
Yeah.
really does connect to our Christian faith and our walk with God.
Yeah. I mean, from the beginning of the Bible, we see, I mean, in Eden, I think what we actually see in Eden is how things were meant to be, right? That's what we know. Like, whenever someone dies, people say it wasn't meant to be like this. right? It wasn't supposed to be like this. And in Eden, we see that. And later in scripture, it says that God has set eternity in our hearts. And I think there are times that we miss something we've never known. We miss Eden, even though we haven't ever been there. And what happens is when you say to someone, what sounds fun to you? And they say, going to a water park. If you will ask why 3 times, Leah, you'd be blown away. Because usually by the 3rd time, because you say, why? Because I think it's really fun and I've gone my whole life. Well, why? Well, my dad and I went when I was a kid, and he did this slide and I always thought was funny. And then you're like, oh, so this is like a childhood thing for you. And almost always it comes down to 2 things. When you ask why 3 times, it's a thing from when we were kids or something to do with our grandparents, not our parents, but our grandparents. And what those say to me, and when I'm thinking about the spirituality of fun and the connection of God with fun, is what that says to me is there's a simplicity we miss in our adult lives right now that we felt when we were with our grandparents, or we felt when we were a child, whether our whole childhood was safe or not. A lot of people have moments or teachers or a sporting event that is a really strong connection with fun. And so what that says to me about God is that he has always set that eternity in our hearts. We always know we're longing for something more simple and more peaceful than the life we're living. And sometimes the glimpses of that are these glimpses of eternity to me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Annie, ultimately, what is your hope for this new devotional?
I have a couple of answers, Leah. One of my hopes, the cool thing about Chase the Fun is it's everywhere people love to buy books. So they normally buy books online in their local bookstore. It's also in Walmart and Target. And so my hope is that when believers pass by it in Walmart and Target, they're welcome to get it. But my bigger hope is that they will just like put their hand on it and ask the Lord to put it in the hands of someone who doesn't know him.
Yeah.
Like if you pass by one in Walmart and you can't find one anywhere else, call me and I'll send you one, because this is the kind of book that can bridge people toward Christ that don't know him. Yeah. Because even in the first week, I think we only used scripture twice, not because I don't love it, but because there are people in our friend groups who need to talk about fun and need to experience Jesus, but need a on-ramp. Yeah. And I love the idea of being a bridge or an on-ramp. So that's one of my hopes, is that people who don't know God and don't believe everything we believe will pick this one up, and it will bridge them to the Bible and bridge them to Christ. And my hope for my friends who read it, believers and people who are of a different faith, but when I'm thinking about our believer friends, I'm thinking, man, I want people to embrace fun so that they really deeply experience what God is like in those moments. Yeah. And what it looks like to make space and to rest. And, there's just so much lost in our busyness. And it's not only fun, it's connection and rest and sitting and just being. And fun, when you make space for fun, you make space for a lot of stuff like that. And so my hope is that this helps people make space where they don't have it.